schools. I mean, I ask myself, why do people send their kids to the public schools? Why would anybody do that? Some people are forced into it financially, but a lot of people who could easily afford to send their children to a decent private school or to do homeschooling, they won't do it because they think, well, this is...
Well, I do, but here's the problem. Then even good, quote, Christian schools or others want to be accredited so your child can, quote, get the credits to go to college or whatever, which is now what more than half of college graduates will never even be able to get a job that pays for half of their debt. It is a fraud because they ship the jobs out of the country by design, but through crony deals and monopoly deals. But now they are, giving them stuff about how great Barack Obama's wife is and, what you're supposed to eat under No Child Left Behind. Even in the private schools, they're taking everything over.
Well, of course, they do want to take over the private schools. A lot of these private schools, and you have to be careful, a lot of them are what a friend of mine calls public schools with tuition. So, yeah, so why homeschooling is really probably the only thing that can where you can entirely be in control of what your children are being taught. But there are good private schools still. There are private schools that fight this sort of thing, that don't just use the government curriculum. But you're right about accreditation. I mean, accreditation is a government scheme. It's a government control scheme. As to college, yeah, more and more people, as you say, are looking into whether, James Altucher points out, even what we think of as less expensive colleges, it's about a $200,000 expenditure because you have to take into account the money you're not earning during the years you're in college. So it's very expensive. These kids end up with huge amounts of debt. Government aid, government takeover of the education system has made impossible what Ron Paul, for example, did when he was in college. He worked his way through school. Now, that's a science fiction idea these days. Nobody can work their way through school because the prices have driven so unbelievably high by the government, benefiting the faculty, benefiting the administration, benefiting the groups that are connected to them, and sticking it to the student. Same thing with medical care. Doctors do great, hospitals do great, Big Pharma does great. Patients get hurt. So this is, again, the way the government does these things. All these welfare schemes are actually evil. It's not just that they don't turn out the way the government hoped they turned out. The government's motives are always wrong. They're always evil. They always seek control, destruction, taxes, wars, all the stuff they...
Well, let me stop you. Let me stop you. Look at history. That sounds horrible to an individual person. Why would they do that? Individuals always think of, well, why would they want to have a false flag? To take your rights, to be the hero. People always think of things from their individual perspective. And your point of how they're like, we're going to attack Iran. No, we're not. The foreign mega banks that run our criminal government are the ones doing that. We're not putting fluoride in our water. Big chemical companies are paying government to put a toxic waste in your water and making you pay for it. But when you read this book, Behind the Green Mask, Agenda 21 by Rosa Cora, that, by the way, is available at Infowars.com, it's all the quotes, it's all the plans, it's Maurice Strong. They want a post-industrial society where no one is allowed to operate but them. And that raises my next point. Where do you see this battle going? Because, head Gaia scientist James Lovelock has come out, reversed himself, admitted that it's all a big hoax, man-made global warming, but that they needed it to basically be able to sell the public on other things that are good for the environment. Meanwhile, government and socialist states always are the worst. Take the Soviet Union. Now we have, as I mentioned at the start of the interview, Forbes coming out and saying, one of their writers, let's burn down people's houses, let's mark down where they live, let's go get them. And then that's allowed. We have the Justice Department inside the protest for Trayvon Martin, trying to get a riot going, confirmed. That's been leaked. I mean, my point is, people shouldn't underestimate how authoritarian they are. So looking forward from history, because not just the way things are, I want where Lew Rockwell thinks things are going, because the authoritarians now, every day I see it, are calling for violence, are calling for dictatorial takeover. They know we're waking up, so now they're settling the idea within their ranks of let's just start arresting people for their speech. There's going to be a big Dealey Plaza protest with 50th anniversary. They've announced no protest allowed. They're leasing to the school book building museum the entire area for 2 days for $110, leasing a park. And they're saying no one allowed there but their people, because they know media is going to be there. I mean, this is just off the charts.
Well, if we think back to what the ancient Romans had as one of their slogans for their empire, divide et impera, divide and rule, divide and conquer. Governments always want to get people fighting against each other. I mean, whether we look at, say, what the U.S. did in Iraq, they broke it up. I mean, so they caused tremendous tensions between the Sunnis and the Shiites and the Kurds and so forth. This is what they want to do in Syria. They're doing it in Syria. This is what they want to do in Iran. This is what they're doing in our own country. So in order to keep people from focusing on their real enemy, which of course is not Al-Qaeda or whatever, it's Washington, D.C., they want to split us up. So of course they promote race war. They promote all kinds of horrible things that we should, liberals should hate conservatives and all the rest. That's what they want, you focusing on that and never to discuss the government. You'll notice if we listen to the neocon, Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity, they never discuss the nature of the government. We're always supposed to focus on, the evil of flag burning or whatever. So they always want you on some other thing that doesn't threaten the government, but that divides the people, so they will not become united. You don't have to be united. Diversity is wonderful of all sorts. You don't have to be united in any sense except against the enemy. Where's the enemy? The enemy is in Washington, D.C.
So where do you see things going, though? I mean, if you look into a crystal ball, where do you see America in 5-10 years?
Well, first of all, you have to be worried about things like that you've talked about the Department of Homeland Security buying 450 million rounds of hollow point 40 caliber ammunition. What are they doing? That's enough to wage a war. What do they plan to do with that? Is it because they want to seize our guns?
And they're buying armored mobile pillboxes for the highways, and TSA is now nationwide doing gropes and bag searches on street corners and buses. Correct. I mean, totally illegal.
That's right, and we have some of the TSA people who said that there should be these booths at malls and at public libraries and in all public schools. You should have to be groped to go into into anything they decide where some phantom terrorist from overseas might be coming. When the actual terrorists, people who spy on us, take our money, run our lives, try to hurt us, are in our own government. I'll put that in quotes. So where do I see things headed? I think there's a battle. I mean, on the other hand, there has always been a battle between freedom and state. This has always existed as long as there's been civilized humanity. Sometimes the bad guys win, and we end up with an Egyptian system where the god is actually the government, and you have to bow down and be the slave of the pharaoh. On the other hand, sometimes we have massive increases in liberty. It happened in the ancient world. It's happened in America and other places. Now it seems like we're in retreat. But the battle I think, never is going to be over until the end of the world. There's always going to be this struggle. So I think the struggle will continue. I think we're going to be, I would say 10 years from now, we will be far better off than we are today. Not that we won't have immense troubles. We have a lot of economic troubles to go through. Who knows what the Federal Reserve is going to do to us? Who knows what the Federal Reserve has already done to us? So we have but the thing is, government is subject to the laws of reality. They all think in government that all they have to do, use their one tool, the gun, put it to your head, and say, do it, or we're going to put you in jail, or we're going to kill you. This, by the way, is what's on the traffic ticket. If you don't pay your library fine or anything else, this is the one way the government has to operate. But the gun can't actually, the gun, for example, is not exactly a creative force when it's used by a private criminal or government criminals. And there are a lot of things they cannot actually bring about. So I think the fact that kids are, what Ron Paul, as I mentioned, Ron Paul has actually already won because of the millions of minds he's changed, not only in this country, hearts he's touched, not only in this country, in Latin America, in Asia, in Europe. Kids love Ron Paul all over this world.
There's finally an alternative to the statist left and statist right. When we come back, I want to jam in a call or two, Lou, but I also want to bring this up to you. They have publicly now announced the war on terror is over, but the TSA, the checkpoints are intensifying, and they say now it's now for domestic groups and libertarians and people. They actually and returning veterans. So they're now admitting what we warned. They're saying, don't worry about Al-Qaeda. They work for us in Libya. They're good. Now the enemy is you. I mean, that's amazing. I want to ask you, why are they hiding everything in plain view now? I guess because they know we've been exposing them, or have they just gotten delusional? We'll get Lew Rockwell's take on that straight ahead. LewRockwell.com. I'm Alex Jones of Infowars.com with big breaking news up there right now on Bilderberg, location 2012. A little over a year. You know, I'll be honest with you. I had an important question for Lew Rockwell that I wanted him to answer as we went to break, and now I can't even remember it. Because during the break, Kurt Nimmo said, have you seen my new article at Infowars.com? And I started reading it, and I'd seen this call by the White House. This is racketeering. This is discrimination, like black people come and try to buy your house. They've got the credit, and you say, I don't sell to black people. But see, when government and corporations do it, it's supposedly okay. Bank of America's war on the Second Amendment. They're now telling a major CEO of a major gun company they will not let them do business with them, have bank accounts, loans, whatever. Bankster giant Bank of America has joined the effort to take down the Second Amendment and deny Americans the right to own and use firearms. Kelly McMillan, the CEO of McMillan Fiberglass Stocks, McMillan Group International, and McMillan Firearms Manufacturing, recently wrote on his Facebook page that Bank of America has refused to do business with his companies because they sell firearms. And we're seeing where they won't take ads in newspapers for them. Bank of America admitted its decision was political. His response was to immediately stop doing business with Bank of America. And because they're saying that they won't do business with him. And it goes over it all. I mean, this is just, it's so authoritarian. Lew, what was my question as we went to break? Do you remember?
Well, you wanted to talk about what's ahead. I frankly apologize. I don't remember exactly what you asked.
No, but I mean, I got blindsided by this. What do you make of just of all the authoritarian stuff they're doing? It's not stopping people buying all-time record 5 million guns a month and saying it's because they don't like the government. I mean, they're losing. Don't they get it? And their bullying isn't scaring people anymore.
Well, you can't, something else you can't trust is the big banks. You can't trust the big banks. These are institutions that are inherently corrupt. They engage in fractional reserve banking, meaning that they're fraudulent.
They are the government. They admit in Europe that they've taken over Europe.
No, and they cooperate with the Federal Reserve to bring on the business cycle. If it weren't for the big banks and the Federal Reserve and banking, I must say in general, as it exists in this country, we wouldn't have recessions and depressions. So these are not good institutions, and they treat you, of course, like a microbe if you're one of their customers. And so, as you say, they're getting rid of one of their business customers because they don't like people owning guns. Well, I'm sure they don't. Well, people ought to get out of bank. Hope nobody has an account in Bank of America. Get out of Bank of America.
This is Bank of America is so disconnected.
Banks.
Exactly.
With a small bank, you're much better off dealing with a small community bank. You can check the ratings, but you're far, don't deal with these great big banks. And also deal in cash to the extent you can. The government hates cash. The banks, of course, hate cash, because if you're dealing in cash, they don't have that money to be able to pyramid loans on top of it and cause all kinds of trouble and to exacerbate the whole inflation process.
Well, Lew, that's what I was about to say in closing, because we're almost out of time, and unfortunately don't have time for calls, is that they tried to charge $5 every time you use your own bank card when they're using your money. People said no. But this shows how disconnected Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, the shareholders of the Federal Reserve are. They think they're God and are trying to shut down real local banks.
But one small thing you can do, again, is use cash. Deal in cash. If you try to get a significant amount, it's actually fun to do it, to go into your bank and ask for a significant amount of your own cash. They hate your guts. They'll do everything possible to make you feel bad that you're wanting your own money. And the reason is because it hurts them when you get that cash out, you deal in cash. So the extent that everybody can deal in cash, deal with a small bank, you're hitting them where it hurts.
Hey, I've gotten out less than 10,000 and had bank managers call me and ask me if I'm a criminal, just to make me feel bad.
Yeah, no, of course. You're not a tool of the banksters. You must be a bad guy.
Because they're the bad guys. Lew Rockwell, amazing interview. Ron Paul has already won the hearts and minds, that is. We'll have to have you back soon to talk about Puppet Romney versus Puppet Obama. Thank you so much, Lew.
Thanks, Alex.
Amazing interview with Lew Rockwell. Stay with us, Infowars.com.